Yeah, I want to do a little bit on alternative energy. And yeah, I do think there's a conspiracy out there against alternative energy because there is an entrenched racket. It's almost like entrenched medicine, too. I don't really think that's too far-fetched. But, something that was out the last couple of years was Andrea Rossi in Italy. He had this other device called cold fusion, something like cold fusion, LEN-R, low energy nuclear reactions. Supposedly it was going to be out, produced in the country of Greece, that all these devices would produce enough energy to power a house. They're going to be like so many euros, and you could buy them, and just goes ad infinitum pretty much, and you don't have to add fuel to it too much. I don't think it's bullshit because the device was this is, you can look it up, Andrea Rossi, LEN-R. You could think it's garbage, but I always think that there might have been something to this one, because he did demonstrate it. I'm getting on with something now. He did demonstrate it in front of a lot of scientists, and people came from like Scandinavia and stuff, and they were seeing that it was putting out heat for so many hours and all this type of stuff. There was no wires in it and everything, but he sold the apparatus to some buyer, private buyer. Probably, I heard it was military or something, but I don't know. I have a feeling there's something going. I got a feeling it might be legit. But if you go back, I'm going to kind of ad-lib here a little bit. If you go back, I think it was 2008 or 2009, there was this company in Japan called Genipak, Genepac, Genipak. It was, they produced a car that basically ran on, it was hydrogen from water. It had a way to split the hydrogen efficiently, and the car ran off the hydrogen, but the only fuel they would use was water. They had a way to split the hydrogen somehow. And I'm going to say, I saw an article, and I know somebody can write anything. I mean, you can write an article, it could be bullshit or whatever, but it was, I wish I PDF'd the article because the link was dead, like over a year ago. But the article stated, from what I read, was that the major Japanese car companies were going to produce this technology in more luxurious cars. It was like Nissan and that type of stuff. And there was a technology that Genipak did. Well, lo and behold, what happened after that? This is getting real conspiratorial, but I got a suspicion on this because this is out there pretty far. But lo and behold, what happened after that is you had the tsunami with Japan. And one thing about that tsunami that always piqued my suspicion, that somehow it was not just a natural event, was, actually you could see it on YouTube if you look for the video. It was a volcano that occurred right after that tsunami, that if you looked at from the webcam of the pointing at the volcano that was going off, because they had like a 24-hour webcam on this volcano that was like inactive all the time, it became active. You could see this like bright light at the base of the mountain that starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I know this sounds like really crazy conspiratorial UFO YouTube stuff, but it was right there. I mean, you can probably find it on YouTube right now. It's a video of a volcano, I forgot the name of it, that happened right after the tsunami. And I know that the tsunami basically clobbered the Japanese auto industry. Just makes me suspect something, because I'll tie this in with something else, but I'm telling you, like, the volcano webcam is real. It's not bullshit. You can find it on YouTube, and you can look at it and you say, does that look natural? I don't know. It sure the hell doesn't look natural to me. It's like there's this big bright orb, and I don't know what the hell it is. It's almost like people were calling it an energy weapon or some shit. I don't know. But just using a little common sense or gut instinct, Japanese people are very independent, and there's a lot of things they kind of buck that the globalists want, so I don't know. Got a little suspicion there anyway. Pretty far out there, but I'll tell you what, I'm leading up to something now. There's one other thing. It was Zhirinovsky, the Russian leader, the one of the Russian leaders. Now that clown, they have him in there for a reason. Actually, he's actually controlled by the real party behind the scenes, I'd say, for a reason, because he's to scare the West, where the West makes sure they're providing technology and funding to other leaders in Russia to make sure they don't go back to any kind of radical nationalism or anything like that. They want to push capitalism. I think that's what he's about. But there's actually a YouTube video out there where he said, Zhirinovsky, he said it in Russian, and you could say he was drunk or not, but whatever, it's out there, that Russia actually caused the Japanese earthquake and tsunami with secret weapons that they have. That's what that jerk said. I mean, he could have been drunk, high, whatever the hell he is, being a buffoon, I don't know, but it's actually there. And according to people that commented on that YouTube video, it was a good translation. So, I don't know, I got a little suspicion, I think the most powerful, well, it's not a freaking, that wouldn't be something made up. The most powerful industry on earth is the oil industry. So if you have a way to basically put them out of business, I guess maybe they would go to great lengths to stop some. I don't know if they have something like that, but that's real conspiratorial, but who the hell knows? But I'm going to get on with this. There's another new technology out here that looks like was basically researched by people in Canada, but I'm going to get into that in a second. But actually, I know there's going to be a lot of people commenting about, Tesla and, Stanley Meyer's water car and how he died of poisoning at, in a restaurant. And he had that car that can actually run off of hydrogen, split from water, and the car disappeared, the plans disappeared, and all that crap right after his death. And you can point out a number of other things. But there's, without getting into all that stuff, there is one thing out there that can actually solve the energy crisis big time, and that is plain old industrial hemp. Not marijuana, just plain old industrial hemp. No drug in it, nothing. Hemp produces 10 times the amount of gasoline as corn. Rudolph Diesel, who died a mysterious death, by the way, conspiracy stuff again, he intended to have his engine run on hemp oil. Not diesel from crude oil, hemp oil. Henry Ford wanted all fuels to come from plants, not from oil. And it was John D. Rockefeller that gave $4 million to the women's suffrage movement, to the abolitionists, to get rid of alcohol because it was competition to his crude oil, because he wanted to get rid of the alcohol coming out from farmers because people were using it in their cars. It was a big competition. So, it's, if you think some of the other things are a little too crazy, we can get right back down to earth. There's a conspiracy against hemp. And actually there's a conspiracy against medical marijuana, because when they made hemp and marijuana illegal at the same time, the American Medical Association was the biggest protester against making medical marijuana oil and their concoctions illegal, because it was used as medicines all the way back to the 1800s. They were way against it. But anyway, reality is there is some type of conspiracy, because the hemp pretty much proves there is a conspiracy, because if there was not a conspiracy, hemp would be a fuel today, no doubt. They wouldn't be using corn. We got plenty of agricultural land that can grow hemp. But anyway, there's something out here that is another new technology that's probably not going to come to see light, just like everything else that's been out there before. It was actually in Canada, and it's a type of renewable energy where they can crack hydrogen from water. Now, I remember I was stating that I think long-term usage of palladium would be, palladium right now is very, the metal palladium is very important for hydrogen storage, hydrogen production, hydrogen purification. It's like you can't do without it, actually. So if hydrogen comes into a fuel as a future because it's a cheap way to actually produce it from water, palladium is going to go up a lot. But supposedly, instead of using high dollar metals and things to produce hydrogen from water, which is very expensive, they found a way to use plain old iron oxides, which in other words is rust, and it's some scientists in Canada that have found this out. Now this supposedly, I think it's not going to see the light of day, just like every other damn thing out there. So, I'd have to say this, as far as the energy problem in the world and the green earth, the green problem, and global warming and pollution and all that kind of crap, you probably don't have to use any kind of special technology. You're not going to need to use Andrea Rossi's LENR, which would be nice to use anyway. Low energy nuclear reaction, say it existed. You won't have to use any device by Genipak, assuming that existed, or anything by the University of Calgary research team in Canada to do anything. You should be able to bypass all those solutions and just use hemp, because actually we do have the solution right available at any time. But this is another thing that's out there, and it looks like it's very promising, but I've seen so many things that are very promising before and they never came to fruition. And I think part of it is because most people don't have the balls to buck the system. That's really what it is. And actually, with the hemp, we probably have a religious right-wing type people that are vehemently against it, because they're so anti-marijuana that if somebody said they can mix the hemp plant with the marijuana plant, or made an argument somehow, they would be using them to, go against it. But if you had a lot of people on the side of growing industrial hemp, we'd actually solve our energy problem. But there looks like there's another new technology out here that's been discovered by the University of Calgary, using iron oxide to split hydrogen from water. Another promising technology, but I think it's not going to come to fruition. Because just like I saw in 2008, the thing with Genipak, and I saw later on, about a year later, that the Japanese car this is an article I read. I mean, I know I read the article, I'm not lying there, but I mean, how valid is the article? I mean, somebody writes something, but supposedly they said the major Japanese car manufacturers were going to start producing some limited models, luxury models, using that technology that would basically run like, free practically, because all they'd have to do was put water in the car, and it would have a, way to split the water, and it was like basically practically running for nothing. I mean, that's what the article stated. Then a year later, we had the tsunami, and all the oil industry shut down, and all this problem happened, and ridiculous amounts of people died. I almost think that was, but the fact that even Zhirinovsky said something about it, claimed that Russia did it. If you think that's like total conspiracy crap, you wonder why a Russian leader would say some shit like that. And if you look at the volcano erupting that happened right after or during the tsunami, and you can see this bright light on the bottom. I mean, if you think it's a natural phenomenon, I'm not talking about, I mean, at the base of the volcano. It's not some reflection. It gets small, it gets bigger. Look at it. If you look it up on YouTube, you can look up Zhirinovsky's words about that was actually done to Japan on purpose. I got my doubt in my mind, and I'm not that conspiratorial, actually, to tell you the truth, But hey, sometimes I wonder, because we don't use hemp for energy, and there's a reason. It's because the oil industries won't allow it. So maybe there is other technology out there, but there's a new technology coming up That's, it's not Andrea Rossi with his low energy nuclear reactions device. I don't know how well that was. It's not Genipak with that water car they had from Japan. Well, this is the University of Calgary. They have a cheap method to produce hydrogen from water using ordinary, well, it's rust, iron oxide, versus using more exotic materials that were very expensive, where it was cost prohibitive to get hydrogen from water. Actually, I've read a couple years ago that the French are using some kind of electrolysis process that's a lot more efficient to split water, hydrogen from water. And actually, back, I think it was in the 90s, it was Stanley Myers, when he had that supposed water car, that it was a specific frequency or whatever the hell he did that caused tons of hydrogen just to be, not tons, but lots of hydrogen to come out of the water with very little energy being put in. It wasn't like you were getting free energy. It was more or less you were mining hydrogen from water, basically, in an efficient manner. There's no such thing as actually free energy per se, but it was a way to actually get the hydrogen out of the water cheaply, split it out from the H2O into hydrogen and oxygen, and then you burn a fuel, so you'd have a fuel. So I don't know where this is going to go, because it's another promising technology. So I don't know, these researchers better watch they don't fall in a ditch or something. That's all I got to say, because that pretty much seems to be the problem. But the actual way to actually fight the oil companies all the way is to grow industrial hemp. And probably, in my mind, the people that are probably against this, that are like foot soldiers for like the Satanist bastards that aren't letting nobody grow this stuff, it's probably a lot of it's the Christian right wing, because they associate it with the hemp, with marijuana, they associate it with the hippie culture, they associate it with all these liberal ways of thinking, and that's how they think. And but actually, if a lot of people forced the issue, it would be no problem, because you could do it immediately. Hemp produces 10 times the amount of gasoline as corn. And Rudolf Diesel specifically developed his diesel would be better than the gasoline engine by far. Rudolf Diesel developed his diesel engine specifically to be run on hemp oil. I mean, he was killed too. That's another one of those conspiracy things, but probably he was killed. I mean, he looked like he was very suspicious death. I mean, he was fell off the boat or something like that. I don't know how it happened, and anyway. But people don't fight it, and that's why if you don't want to get too far out there and like get behind a device like Lin R, because who the hell knows if it works or not. You don't want to get behind this University of Calgary study. You don't want to actually get behind Genipak invention, because nobody really knows what the hell they did, or Stanley Myers. But we do know hemp works, and when people get behind that, we have solved the energy crisis. We have solved pollution. We solved air quality problems, and global warming, and every other damn thing. Global warming I don't believe in, but if there is global warming, if you do lots of plants, you're not going to have it. So you grow a lot of hemp, you're not going to have it. So but I think the real problem is, part of it is the Christian right. The Christian right are so lunkheads conservative sometimes that the devils that are in the oil industry got them working as their foot soldiers. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why they can't think outside the box. But hemp is some good stuff. It's not a drug. It's something that can actually save the planet. So, but it's going to wipe out the oil industry when it gets going. That's what's going to happen.